Hey, what's going on, guys? You're listening to The Engine on YouTube. We just did our top 5 winners of the offseason for the NFL because, the draft just concluded. We want to talk about it. You guys want to hear it, so we're here to provide you with the information. Go check the winners video out if you didn't see it already. Right now, we've got our top 5 losers of the NFL offseason. Our first team we've got for you guys today is the Patriots. The Patriots lost probably the biggest key, the most famous, talented, best player in the history of their franchise. And anytime you do that, obviously you're going to Tom Brady. They lose him to the Buccaneers. They don't draft a quarterback in the draft, and everybody's pretty much agreed that their draft wasn't that good. They draft 2 edges. They draft 2 tight ends. They draft a kicker in the 5th round. I don't know what's going on there. Stunham's definitely going to be the starting quarterback. What do we make of this, guys? What are we thinking here?
I mean, I'm really confused at their draft. The only reason that I don't think they had the worst offseason is because it's Bill Belichick. You got to trust him. They drafted a lot of unknown players. Kyle Duggar, Josh Uche out of Michigan. Me and Nick love him, but he was very misused at Michigan and possibly too little to play in the NFL. And, I mean, drafting a kicker in the 5th round in 2 tight ends who they probably both reached on, not to mention they lost the biggest star in NFL history. This has got to be a really big loss for the Patriots, but it's Bill Belichick. You got to trust him. You got to trust him with blindfold.
I agree with that. I think the way they drafted doesn't surprise me. Like, the defensive guys are Patriots guys. They're versatile players who can cover. So I would say that didn't surprise me. I thought their draft was okay. They picked the wrong tight ends, but at least they realized they have a hole there. They lost some guys on the defense, like Kyle Van Noy was a huge player for them. Jamie Collins was a huge player for them. They're starting to get a little older. I do think running out day one with Jarrett Stidham, though, is better than drafting a quarterback for your future. You're better seeing if this guy is going to be a stud. Maybe he will, but apparently they really like him. Or going full-on tank for Lawrence and Fields, which I think if Belichick is able to do that, it would be one of the best moves in NFL history. But for now, they significantly got worse running into the next season.
I think you do have to applaud them for not reaching on a quarterback. I think that they should definitely get some points for that. Some of the things they didn't do actually made their offense their offseason a little bit better.
Moving on to our next team, we've got the Los Angeles Rams. Jared Goff's got to be happy with their draft. They didn't draft a quarterback, and Cam Akers has got to help, but they didn't do anything about their offensive line problem. Their defense is still pretty shaky. I mean, I like Sean McVay, but they still seem like they're on a Super Bowl hangover, and it seems like the GM is feeling that way too. Guys, what do we think about this?
I agree. The reason that their offense was worse was not because Jared Goff and Todd Gurley were significantly worse. It was because their offensive line it was one of the best in the league 2 years ago, and last year was one of the worst in the league. The fact that they went Cam Akers over a solid offensive lineman blows my mind. That would help their own game so much more significantly than getting a running back who's going to give you 3 or 4 yards a carry. Then they went wide receiver with Van Jefferson, who I think was a reach. They lost Brandon Cooks, who was a really good speedy receiver. They got pretty good value out of that, though. They lost Corey Littleton, and they don't really have a future at this point. They don't have a first-rounder next year because of Jalen Ramsey. They just really dug themselves into a hole even more. I think they were in an opportunity. Maybe they could get some value in the second round. There were still a lot of good players available, and I don't like what they did at all.
I think you have to say that this is an outcome of last offseason and during last season with the Jalen Ramsey trade. So it's kind of just finally collapsing on the Rams after going all in the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl hangover. And their future is just so dim. There's a bunch of old, random, overplayed players on their team, and they have so many different holes, and they don't have enough draft capital to fix it. So a really bad offseason. They declined at basically every single position.
Honestly, and you guys can debate about this if you want because we have 30 seconds, but I think the Rams are going to be the worst team in this division next year, and I don't even think it's going to be close. The Cardinals look unbelievable. The Seahawks still have Russell Wilson, and the 49ers are absolutely loaded. What does this Rams team have that the other
could
teams
see any scenario in that division.
I could
see any 4-way scenario.
I agree with you. I just said that the Cardinals could possibly be a top 5 team in the NFL. I could very well see them going 4-12 and just being a complete bust of a team.
Well, Falk hasn't gotten a lot of sleep in the past couple of nights. We're not going to take that claim seriously. Moving on to the next team, the Houston Texans. I didn't hate their draft. I actually liked a couple of their picks. I liked their second-round pick, their defensive lineman. I liked their third and fourth-round pick, but Bill O'Brien is, I'm not going to say objectively because there's no way to have to, prove this, but what is he doing trading DeAndre Hopkins for, I'm not going to say a bag of chips, but like a rotisserie chicken that's kind of cold. But what are you doing, Bill O'Brien, trading DeAndre Hopkins? Actually brutal trade. You needed a running back. Okay, cool. You traded your best player on your team for David Johnson, who got benched last year, for Kenyon Drake, who is a backup on most other teams. What do we think about this?
Let's not talk about the trade anymore. We all know it was possibly the worst move in NFL history.
Butchered like that rotisserie chicken.
That already makes them a very cold rotisserie chicken. That already.
You guys are making me hungry.
Yeah, it already makes them bottom 5 for sure. Not to mention, Bill O'Brien literally fucked up the pick. A team made him draft a random player that he did not want, and that's why on the draft cam he was just burying his hands in his face. Like, what has come to me? I'm literally a failure. The Texans literally declined every way. Not to mention they paid Laramie Tunsil, who's a solid O-lineman, but he just put them in a ton of cap debt. And he's solid, but he's gonna get injured eventually. 3 years, $66 million. Are you crazy?
The way I feel about the Tunsil deal is him making up for him being a terrible general manager last year. When you make that trade, you need to extend him right away. The fact that it took a whole year, they did have to re-sign him, or else it would just make him look even worse. So the Hopkins trade was terrible. We talked about it. It also bothers me that they're trying to replace DeAndre Hopkins. He's an irreplaceable wide receiver, and they're going for a guy in Brandon Cooks who gets a concussion on every single season. He's solid. And then that O'Brien. So I don't like the Ross Blacklock pick in the second round, but he is an athletic defensive tackle, so it's okay. But what you were saying earlier, this is just why Bill O'Brien's not fit to be a GM. He makes a trade with pick 90 with the Detroit Lions, and the Lions are on the phone saying, we're going to take Jonathan Greenard, an overrated, unathletic edge rusher out of Florida. And then the Lions back out, and he still picks Jonathan Greenard because he thinks he has to, or something like that. I'm not completely sure, but he wasn't able to get the trade done, but he gets the player for the other team. He's just not fit to be a GM.
Nick Freeman, do you like Dan Quinn or do you like Bill O'Brien more?
I think O'Brien's actually a really solid coach. He's a Belichick disciple, and he's made the playoffs for a while.
Well, there you go. Moving on. This pains me, but we've got the Green Bay Packers. You get Jordan Love in the first round, who's going to apparently replace Aaron Rodgers. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers is okay with it. But the rest of this draft, I think, 17, 18 receivers got drafted. The Packers didn't take any of them. Everybody agrees that the Packers needed a receiver. They didn't take anybody. They took A.J. Dillon in the second round, a big running back from Boston College. Not terrible. Some of their later round picks weren't awful. I can't do this anymore. The Packers offseason was a bust. It wasn't very good, but they won 13-3 last year. They have Aaron Rodgers. Go away.
This is Freeman, the happiest I've ever been.
Nick Freeman, rub your hands together. Give me your best shot. Come on.
Let it rip.
All right.
Throw it in my face.
I'm going to start it out. I'm a Bears fan, and I loved everything the Packers did during free agency. So first off, I'm just going to start with the Jordan Love pick. I understand it a little bit. I don't like Jordan Love, but he does have tools. My one issue is they're saying we're going to develop this guy maybe 3 or 4 years until Rodgers is done. That's too long. By the time you're done, he's going to be off his rookie contract, and you're a guy who's never even started the game. Also, Aaron Rodgers still is going to want to play there. You went 13-3 last year. There is a championship window, and not getting him any receivers is so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. I don't understand. It was their number one need by far, and they just didn't help him at all. It's just a shot at him. What are they going to do? If he demands a trade right now, it's not like they can walk in there with Jordan Love starting day one. Then in the second round, A.J. Dillon might be the worst draft pick in NFL history.
Wow.
Okay. I'll chill a little bit.
Wow.
If you want an uber productive back on an 0-16 team, he's your guy. But he can't catch the ball. He's going to be maybe a goal line back. They have to it's just he can't catch the ball. I don't understand it at all. And
I can't tell if you're mad or if you're excited, Nick Freeman. You're going on a bit of a tangent. Are you mad or are you excited?
I'm mad.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I love the Bears offseason too. They have 10 tight ends. I mean, come on. I love that they picked Cole Kmet. That's awesome.
I'm mad that whoever the Packers the Packers GM's name is slipping my head, but I'm mad
They
that
don't
he
have
can
a
be a
GM.
GM.
Or they have a GM,
And
they don't have an owner. Excuse
Yeah.
me.
Because they're public or whatever. But I just think it was such a bad offseason. And then they went for a H-back in the third round, which is a tight end who plays fullback. Like, why? So, generally, I just think the fact that they didn't help Aaron Rodgers at all, they're going to be starting Rick Wagner at right tackle, who's pretty terrible. It was just a mind-blowing offseason.
Yeah, which, by the way, they replaced Balaga with Rick Wagner, who, like you said, is terrible. I don't mind the Jordan Love pick. I think it's a pretty good pick. But
Thank you.
But if you pissed off Aaron Rodgers and you request a trade, that's just an awful pick. So you have to play that into consideration. And the rest of their draft was absolutely absurdly stupid. A.J. Dillon in the second round. What? He would have been there in the sixth round. And literally every one of their picks was like an overrated interior offensive lineman, or like Nick said, an H-back. Just what? What are you doing? There was plenty of weapons that were falling in the third and fourth round. You could have grabbed any of those guys, even if you didn't like them. Might as well keep Rodgers happy. So I think they fucked it up in almost every possible way. So nice job.
I think the beauty of what you guys are saying is you guys could be wrong. I could be wrong. We don't know. It remains to be seen. So for now, I will stay cool. We're moving on to
one thing is I think the Packers will be a good team this year. I'm not going to go out and say they made themselves so much worse, but they could have gotten so much better.
Another thing I will mention.
Hey, we got to cut off. My producer's telling me we got 5 seconds. We're moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders, our final team of today. Sorry, Nick Falk, didn't get your word in. Moving on, they got Henry Ruggs, who many people are saying that they could have gotten Jerry Jeudy, who I think you guys think it was a better player. That was a dumb pick. You go your second pick, you get a cornerback. They didn't 100% need him. Third round, you go and get a running back wide receiver from Kentucky. Never heard of the guy.
He played quarterback in college.
Exactly. I mean, whatever. It's whatever. But some of they only had first through fourth round picks, so I'm not gonna get on their draft case too badly. But it's kind of the same thing with the Packers. They didn't do too much to make themselves improve, but they didn't make themselves worse too much. I feel like they just could have done better, if you know what I
mean. So I think the Raiders made a lot of solid moves, but they made a lot of really stupid moves. You said the Raiders didn't need a corner. They definitely did, but Damon Arnett was an insane reach. He was probably the 90th player on the draft board at that point. Just why take him? That was just a stupid move. I do like Corey Littleton and Amik Robertson, some of their late round picks, but I think they just try to be a little too cute this offseason.
Yeah, I think Mike Mayock and John Gruden need to get that stick out of their butt that tells them they need to draft a player from a big school at every
Exactly.
Damon Arnett out of Ohio
Hold on,
State.
Nick Freeman, if I can cut you off. All their picks, all right? First round pick, Alabama. Second round pick, Ohio State. Third round pick, Kentucky. Third round pick, South Carolina. Third round pick, Clemson. Fourth round pick, Clemson. Fourth round pick, Louisiana Tech. Only one of those schools isn't in a Major 5 conference.
And only one of those picks I liked, and it was the Louisiana Tech pick. Henry Ruggs, that's fine. They're going to use him well, and he's a really good speedy receiver. I wouldn't have done it, but it's fine. Damon Arnett, if you're looking for a decent athlete cornerback at 19 overall, probably a below-average athlete who has character concerns and is going to be 24 in his rookie year, who wasn't a number 1 or number 2 cornerback in college, he's your guy. But if not, they could have gotten so much more value at the cornerback position at 19. Then 80 and 81, I like how they're investing in those receivers, but I just don't really know what usage those guys are going to have in the offense. And generally, I think the Raiders will probably have a better team than last year, just because they're a young team and they're going to develop. But I think were put in a situation with all this draft capital where they really could build some big players for the future, and they failed at that.
Yeah, Damon Arnett at 19. This guy's a walking pass interference. What are you doing?
Nick Falk, I've got a question specifically aimed at you. You on your cornerback big board had Noah Igbenogany. I can't really pronounce his name that well.
Yeah.
Add your 8th best cornerback. Would you have taken him over him? Because he also got picked in the first round by the Jets, I'm pretty sure.
No, Dolphins.
Yeah, no. Would you have taken him over him?
Yeah, for sure. I love him. Yeah, oh my God. He is much better than Damon Arnett. Me and Nick had a conversation before the draft Thursday, midday, we talked about the Steelers were at 49, the Bears were at 43-50. So pretty similar places. We talked about players that would possibly get taken there that we really don't want. Damon Arnett was the main player we were talking about. Literally, no lie.
He was one of those guys who.
Is this out of spite? Is this out of spite? You guys are Michigan Wolverine fans. He's from Ohio State. Is this out of spite?
Actually, not at all. Like,
he didn't do anything. I loved playing against Damon Arnett.
Yeah, and you love losing against Damon Arnett. Sorry, guys, that's all the time we have for you guys today. We leave you with the thought that Michigan hasn't beaten Ohio State in a lot of years.
Thank you for listening.
Hope you guys enjoyed this video. New top 50 NBA players video on the way. If you like this video, if you got this far, subscribe, like. Doesn't hurt. Takes a second. That would really help us out. Thank you guys so much, and have a good rest of your night. Have a good rest of your day. Whenever you watch this, thank you so much.
Thank you.